Welcome to the Fut-Afrique channel, where every single week we get to talk about all things rugby. As you know, the 2023 Rugby World Cup is currently being hosted in France, and I have to admit that the Springboks are doing quite well. However, this weekend, a big battle lies ahead. Ireland. They're ranked world number 1. The Springboks are ranked second in the world. Every single game, in my opinion, doesn't matter. There's only one game that matters this weekend, and that's, of course, the Springboks beating Ireland, in my opinion. Of course, as always, I'm not alone. I'm joined by a former professional rugby player. She's also a sports broadcaster on SuperSports. Her name is Layla Harrison. Layla, how are you doing?
Aaron, so good to be with you, and so good to be chatting rugby with you, and especially in a time where everything is very exciting and everyone's kind of on a knife's edge with regards to this Rugby World Cup.
Let's talk about the news that we saw ahead of the game against Romania. We'll talk about the game, but some sad news for us who love rugby.
Yeah.
Malcolm Marx being ruled out for the rest of the World Cup.
Yeah.
A long-term knee injury. Quite sad news, especially given the fact that in 2019, he was a part of the bomb squad, came off the bench, performed so well, and I thought that this could be his World Cup. What was your reaction when you heard the news about Malcolm Marx?
Yeah, no, I think I was lying on the couch and I read the article and I almost felt my heart break for him, especially so early in the tournament. That is not the way you want to go out, especially not at a training. It wasn't even during a match. So really heartbroken for him. I think he was such a key player in that which we wanted to achieve. With regards to our physicality, with regards to how we as South Africans, the DNA of the rugby that we play, he really was this gel in that front three. So yeah, we've lost a mammoth of the game for the rest of the World Cup, but I do back our coaching staff. I do back the rest of the guys that are there, and I know that it means enough to them to bring it home for their families, for South Africa, and now even for Malcolm on top of it.
Let's throw in Bongi Mbonambi. He's the man who was captain this past weekend against Romania, and he also donned the number 2 jersey. Given his performance on Sunday, do you think he's going to be a regular hookup?
Yeah, no, definitely. I definitely think, look, he's our only specialist hooker we've got there at the moment. So he's definitely going to slot into the starting hooker. And it's a place that he's comfortable in. We spoke about Malcolm being off the bench and coming in as the bomb squad. So he was obviously replacing Bongi. So Bongi knows what it takes to perform at this level. He knows how much he needs to put in. And I think like Bongi gets like this glimmer in his eye when you know like things are about to like turn on. And he psychs himself up and he psychs the players around him. And I think he pushes everyone to be better as well. And I think, Sia touched on it. He said he's not the only leader in the team. I think Bongi is one of those as well, leading from the front, taking the ball up and taking the team up when needed. So completely back Bongi. Bongi's had my heart since for years now. I was very sad when he moved to the Sharks. So I think he's definitely got what it takes to carry us through.
Injuries have been a big concern for the Springboks. Even ahead of this Rugby World Cup, we saw Lukhanyo not necessarily being on the squad that we saw being announced when everybody was incredibly excited. A player like Louis de Jager not being a part of the squad as well. And then Pollard, a player who I was hoping would be involved with the squad, but wasn't initially a part of the squad in the first 2 games. But we heard some good news this week that he will be joining the squad in France, which now asks the question about Moody, whether he will play or not on Saturday. What did you make about Pollard being healthy, being fit, and being ready to play at the Rugby World Cup?
Yeah, no, look, Polly's been that stalwart that everyone's needed at pivot, and you know what you get out of him. I also think he's been playing incredible games for Leicester. You've kind of seen Polly come in and play with some flair that you're so used to kind of seeing the static, move do the one thing after the other. But for Leicester, I think they've untapped a different kind of potential in him. So I'm glad he's coming back. I'm glad that it kind of gives the whole country now rest at ease with regards to this kicking to post situation that everyone's been worried about. I'm fearful that this now means that Moni will not be selected in the starting. He's been carrying the team. He's been the one that stepped up when he needed to step up. He's been creating incredible tries when he has had to or when he's needed to. So my span in the work to Saru would be, Rassi, if you're listening, would be, let's keep Mani at 10, we send Polly to 12, leave Andre Esreis on the 13, and we'll see what happens from there.
Okay, so, I like that though. I like that.
Because then it gives everyone kind of this peace of mind that Polly is on the field, and 12 is a position that he's played before, so it's not something completely different to the public. So I'm not saying that that's what should happen, but let's say that let's put it out there. Let's see what happens.
Rassi, if you're listening, and Rassi is always listening, especially if we talk to him via Twitter.
Yeah, clip this and send it straight to him.
Let's talk about the game on Sunday. I mean, South Africa ranked second in the world, Romania ranked 19th. I mean, it was a foregone conclusion.
Yeah.
But I believe that some players got an opportunity to play, got an opportunity to show off their skills.
Yeah.
A player that I enjoyed on the wing, Grant Williams, absolutely phenomenal. And Cobus Reinach scoring that hat-trick as well. What did you make about the South African B team, if we can call it that had an opportunity to play against Romania?
You know, it's always so funny when people refer to it as the B team, because, you know, I had this conversation with someone. France put up their B team against who they played 2 weekends ago. Portugal, I think it was. No, it was Uruguay. It was Uruguay. They played Uruguay, and Uruguay actually gave France, you know, a bit of a scare in the sense of that how tight those margins were. You know, Uruguay came out with this we say lust for lever. They wanted to play, hungry to play, and so France's so-called B team wasn't able to step up, where our B team can go smack a team 70 plus points nil. So it just shows the depth of the squad that we've got at the moment. It shows that every guy when they put that jersey on is hungry to play, and they feel like every game is they have a point to prove. For scrummies in 1:23, you know, and we touch on Grant Williams on the wing. We've seen the pace that he's got. I think though, you know, what his abilities were defined by being on the wing, because you're waiting for the ball to get to you, or if you want to go in and you want to make your own work. But you know, if you give the ball to him, he's got the pace of any one of them there to be able to finish and get over the line. Cobus Reinach had an incredible game. You know, but he's also shown us over the years, when he's given the opportunity to play, he can make tries out of nothing. He backs himself in the most insane situations. You know, he'll create a space for himself and he'll accelerate into it. And I think a lot of his teammates feed off of that as well. It gives everyone kind of this freedom to play. They feel like, you call it parky rugby, like everyone's just playing and just tossing the ball around, fun, everyone's having fun. So it breaks away from this structured rugby that we know the Springboks are going to play. You know, the Springboks as a whole are a set piece team, so they want to maul you, they want to scrum you, you know. However, when you see this B team come on, they've got this different kind of flair that I think excites the people, which is really, really cool to see, because once we start mixing those two, who knows what can happen.
Definitely. You talk about who knows what can happen. I want to talk about a young man who made his debut at the Rugby World Cup, donning the number 13 jersey, Canon Moody.
Yeah.
He's had an absolutely phenomenal run from when he made his debut for the Springboks now to making his debut at the Rugby World Cup. What did you make of his performance at 13, but also just the flair and the energy and the excitement that he brings to the game?
Canon plays with such a maturity, and I think people often forget it, like he was a matric two years ago, you know. So it's so nice to see how much the coaches have backed him, how much they believe in his skill and his ability on the day, and you can see everyone around him backs him as well. And that, as a player, whether you're playing for the Springboks, whether you're playing under 7 Billicky rugby, like if your team backs you, incredible things can happen. And you play with so much confidence. You go into who you are as a player and really start playing the game with freedom. So I think he's been doing really, really well. I love the center pairing between him and Andre Esterhuizen. I love what they bring to the team. Andre has been a complete monster at 12. So I would love to see him even at 13. You know, I would love to see what he'll do in those outside wider channels. But the two of them work really, really well together. And maybe they surprise us and put him on 13 this weekend against Ireland. It's going to be
they
one
do.
to see.
I hope they do.
Yeah, no, I think it's really going to be an interesting one, and I said to someone today, I've never been nervous for a rugby game except this weekend's one. So it's going to be good. It's going to be a good one though.
This one reminds me of the 2019 Rugby World Cup, that first game against the All Blacks.
Yeah.
I was shaking in my boots. But let's talk about the relationship that our head coach, Jacques Nienaber, has with Ireland Rugby, because he did spend some time at Munster. And I believe that the Munster...
And he's going there now.
And he's going there now as well. Yes, of course, after the Rugby World Cup. I do believe that the Ireland players that have played with him could actually understand some of his tactics. Do you think he'll completely revamp the tactics that we'll see against Ireland this weekend?
I mean, nobody ever thought we'd see the Springboks play a 7-1 split. So,
yeah, exactly.
So, it's those kinds of things that I think Jock and Rassie go to bed at night, and then when they have this wild dream and they put it into practice. So we actually don't know. Do they decide to have a dream before Saturday and try something new? I think we can never, ever, ever predict what those two can come up with. I think... Again, we as a DNA and as a country know the style of rugby that South Africa plays. We know it's going to be a physical game. We know that once it gets into the outside channels, Cheslin or whoever's on the other wing is gonna try and step the pawpaw out of whoever's in front of them. But with regards to just kind of the tactical gameplay, you don't know, because I think Rassie and Jock, we've all thought we understand what they're doing and where they're going with things, and then the next weekend they bring out something completely different, like putting 4 scrum offs into a 23. Everyone thought they were crazy for selecting 4 scrum offs for this World Cup, but we've seen how they've now put it into play. Marco van Staden is now a hooker. Who would have thought Marco van Staden, a flank, now becomes a hooker? So every single day they've got kind of these new tricks that
and it also speaks to the fact that our players are so versatile.
100%.
Being able to, for example, a Cannon usually playing on the wing, now moving back to center, and it's good to see the thinking that Rassie and Jacques bring to the table, but also how versatile the players are in terms of adapting to that new style of play.
And they bring out all of these different skills in these players, and that again speaks to the backing that the coaches have of the players that they've selected for this Rugby World Cup. It's crazy to think the things that they come up and conjure up when they're sitting in a team meeting, and how they decide to opt it. I can definitely tell you that something that's not going to be surprising is going to be our line speed off the line. We're going to try and kill Johnny Sexton as soon as possible with ball in hand. You have to break Ireland's flow of play, because if you allow them to pass far too many passes or to set up too many phases, they're gonna punish you for it. So how they plan on attacking, I think Ireland maybe will think they understand what Jog has up his sleeve, but I don't think any of us do.
Yeah, we'll have to wait and see for Saturday's big game. Let's talk about the kits. That's something that has caught many South Africans by surprise.
Yeah.
I call them sometimes the peppermint Springboks. Some people call them checker 60-60 colors.
Yeah.
This weekend, they'll be playing in a different kit from the green and gold.
Yeah.
Tell us more about the kit that they'll be playing in.
Yeah, so I actually just read that we're playing in our second alternate kit. So you've got what everyone calls the checker 60-60 kit, which is the first alternate kit. But then the second alternate kit is exactly the same, except it's just a plain white jersey with I think it's blue trimming around the collars and around the sleeves, and then I think there might be some blue down the sides. So yeah, they've said that our first alternate kit is too close to the island green, which is why they've opted to go for that second alternate kit. So I think maybe that will bring some rest to some people's souls this weekend. Just leave the boys alone a little bit and let them just do. It doesn't really matter what you're playing, and I think if you're just playing good quality rugby, I think that's what should matter at the end of the day.
As long as you win, hey?
As long as we're winning. As long as we're winning, everyone's happy.
Matters.
No one's in a depression the next day, and we're good to go.
Definitely. Let's talk about the result, right? Before I ask you to make a score prediction, we need to now look at the table positioning.
Yeah.
And in my humble opinion, I believe that this is a game that the Springboks can afford to lose, because if they do lose, they finish second on in Group B.
Yeah.
And then it means that we get to play the All Blacks
No, we'll
alternatively,
play France.
We'll play France,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Yes. So which team do you believe would be better for us to take on in the quarterfinals?
Yeah, and so many people think I'm crazy for saying this, but I would much rather play France. I think France is a team that we know we've dominated before. It's a team that we don't have, and I speak to kind of this mental blocking towards, because as soon as you tell South Africans we're playing the All Blacks, everyone's kind of immediately standoffish.
Nervous.
Everyone's nervous, you know, and so there isn't this kind of bad juju around playing against France. And so I think France has the home ground advantage, supposedly, that's weighing on their shoulders. You don't want to let the French nation down. Alele Bleu is going to be going like crazy, you know. So there's so much that comes along with playing in a home stadium. And I think we've always done better when we're the underdogs, when we feel like we've got something to prove, and so I genuinely believe that we can beat France in a quarter. Whereas if we play the All Blacks, again, it's a toss-up. Everyone was scared a couple of weekends ago to play All Blacks in Twickenham, and then we completely thrashed them. But everyone was immediately scared of that game. So if you go and you tell a hurt All Black, like, go and play a quarter now, you know that they're going to come out and be playing the best rugby that they've probably seen from them in the last 2 years. So yeah, I could say we could lose it and play France in the quarter, and then when we see Ireland in the final, we'll just beat them then.
Oh, so you're saying we're beating Ireland in the final?
Well,
if things go our way.
If things go our way. So if things go our way, I did the calculation. We can meet Ireland in the final. If they decide to beat everyone else too, we can meet Ireland in the final, and I back us to beat them then.
All right. Let's talk about Eddie Jones, a man that won the Rugby World Cup with the Springboks in 2007. His beautiful Australian team were beaten by Fiji this weekend. Yeah. What do you make of Eddie Jones and that Australian team at the moment? Are we seeing them in the quarterfinals? I'm putting you on the spot here.
It all depends what Wales does this weekend. I think it's all good. It's just kind of the ball is in Wales' court, and I think with the Australian team will be watching that game with a close eye as well. If they do make it to quarters, I don't think much. I don't know. I don't see them going to semis. I thought I could back Eddie's madness. We saw what he did in 2019 with England, but this year things just have not worked out for him. I think not having that experience to that team is starting to bite him a little bit. But hey, we love Eddie for his comical jokes and the way he addresses things. So, you're not going to get a grandpa more exciting than that.
Definitely not. Let's talk score predictions. First and foremost, the Springboks taking on Ireland. Let's put your head on the block. How much money are you putting on either team?
I'll put everything on green that I've got.
Which green? Because
I don't know.
I'll
alternate white and turquoise. No, I'm always going to back us. I'm always going to back that we're going to be able to pull it through. I think it's going to be a very tightly contested game. I don't think it's going to be one of those super try scoring weekends. I think we'll maybe take it by 3 points. I'm going like a 21-18, 21-17. Yeah,
that's generous.
I think it's going to be a tight one.
How much money are you putting on it?
I'll put like $1.50 on there.
$1.50. I love it. Let's talk about Wales taking on Australia. Eddie Jones. How much money are you putting on which team?
No, I'm never going to back the Aussies. I don't think as a South African you're going to ever support Australia. You can't support Australia.
It's treason. You can't.
I think Wales would do it, but both of those sides are just they're so kind of wishy-washy. You don't really know what they're going to bring you on the day. But hey, let's back Warren and his boys. I think if you get it outside into those wider channels, Reece Zammit and his Sue celebration, everyone's gonna have a good time. So I'm gonna back Wales in that one.
All right. Let's throw one more prediction in there.
Okay.
Let's talk about Scotland and Tonga. Tonga heading into the tournaments, they had a lot of expectations.
Yeah.
People were expecting them to do so well. Wasn't necessarily the case thus far.
Yeah.
Are you expecting Scotland to have a field day with it?
Yeah, I think Scotland, they're a well-rounded team. They also understand the kind of rugby that is expected from them and what they need to do from a rugby point of view. Again, you spoke about Tonga's, this expectation on them, and everyone thought they were going to come out and be this dark horse. And then this weekend, we actually just saw like things weren't gelling as well. Maybe this week at training they've sorted it out and they come out and they show us something different. But I back Finn and the rest of the guys to be able to get Scotland through. I think Scotland also needs a win. They just kind of need something to get their spirits high again. So no, I'm backing Scotland for that one.
All right, fantastic. Leila, thank you so much for joining us on the Fut-Afrique channel. And hopefully you enjoy the rugby this weekend, both in Cape Town as well as the Springboks
100%
thumping Ireland.
Awesome.
Fantastic. Thank you so much for joining us. As you know, the most important thing with the Fut-Afrique channel is you at home. What are your thoughts? Most importantly, looking at the game this weekend against Ireland. Will we see Andre Pollard donning the number 10 jersey? Could we see Moni Lebok on the bench? Given Leila's prediction, she's saying let's move Andre Pollard to 12 and let's leave Moni Lebok at 10. What are your thoughts? Please feel free to join the comment section and also remember to subscribe as well as to like the channel.